What is up, Merbabes? It's your girl Aaliyah today, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. What it do? How are you? So as you know, it is Saturday, so you know what that means. You know what it's time for. It is Serial Killer Saturdays. Hey. We are back on this lovely Saturday to talk about another not so lovely lady. And the lady that we are going to be talking about today is a lovely lady named Leonarda Cianciculli. I am not sure if that's how you pronounce her name. She was Italy's first serial killer, and she was also known as the soap maker of Coreggio. Before we get into this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to Amber How, because I got some of my information about this crazy woman from not only internet sources, but also from her YouTube channel. And what she does on her YouTube channel is kind of something similar to what I'm doing for the spooky season on Saturdays and what Bailey Sarian does on Murder Mystery Maker Monday, where she does True Crime Tuesdays. So go over to Amber's channel and give her a subscription and let her know that Aaliyah Danae sent you. And also go over to Bailey's channel too, just because they're both awesome. They both talk about true crime. So if you love true crime and makeup, go subscribe to their channels. Oh, and quick little warning. There's going to be lots of talk of gore and cannibalism and stuff like that. So if you're not into that, the door. Mean that with all of my love. If you don't want to do this, the door. And I suggest that, and I will warn y'all if you stay, to make sure that you're not eating something. So right for now, go ahead and grab your makeup brushes and a snack. All right, Miss Leonarda Cianciculli. She was born April 18th, 1894 in Montella, Avellino, Italy. So her upbringing wasn't exactly the best. And it kind of all started off with her parents. Her paternal father, Mariano, raped her mother, Emilia Dinolfi. And in order to save face when she found out she was pregnant, she married him. And her mother became emotionally, verbally, mentally abusive towards Leonarda when she was a child. And it didn't really change much even after her paternal father died and she got married to someone else. Her family was pretty much impoverished their entire lives, and it didn't change even after the mom remarried. And due to the consistent emotional and mental abuse from her mother, and I guess after her father died, because I mean, yes, the man was horrible. The man raped her mother. So the mom didn't really, of course, the mom was not going to truly like her father, but I guess Leonarda she still liked him because that was still her father. And because she didn't really have enough time to grieve after he died, and due to her mother's emotional abuse, she attempted suicide twice at a young age. So Leonarda was an extremely superstitious woman. So much so, like, she believed in fortune tellers, palm readers, all that jazz. And she was so superstitious that she even believed that her mother cursed her and her husband when she married. And the husband was a clerk named Raphael Pansardi. She married this guy, Raphael Pansardi, and he was just this guy that she met and she fell in love with. It's like, oh, that's sweet, right? Well, her mother and her father had already picked out somebody for her, and because she decided to marry him instead of the suitor that they chose, she was going against her already kind of resentful mother's wishes, and she believed her mother cursed them because misfortune followed them everywhere after they got married. So at a young age, Leonarda went to see a fortune teller. And the fortune teller told her that she was going to get married and that she was going to have children. But she said that all of her children were going to die very young. Settling, ain't it? So she also went to see a gypsy who practiced palm reading. And the gypsy told Leonarda that in her right palm, I see prison, and in your left, I see a criminal asylum. So remember that for later on down the line in the story. So like I said, Leonarda married Raphael because she met him and fell in love with him, and she went against her mother's wishes. And the couple moved to his hometown. And because he wasn't rich, they struggled financially for quite some time. And once they had children, their financial struggle got a lot worse. So over the course of their marriage, Leonarda had 17 pregnancies. 17 pregnancies. But unfortunately, remember what the fortune teller said that she was going to get married and have kids, but all of them were going to die young. So unfortunately, out of the 17 pregnancies, only 4 out of her 17 children managed to survive. This was because, this poor woman, her first 3 children that she had, those 3 pregnancies of those 3 children resulted in miscarriages, unfortunately. And then 10, you heard right, 10 of her children died at a young age. That really has to suck. I can't. Like, I know you're not supposed to feel bad for the serial killer and all that, especially with all the horrible things we're going to find out that she did. And this just like, I'm not saying that any of this excuses her behavior at all. I never feel that their upbringing excuses their behavior, like for any serial killer. But at the same time, it's like she had 3 children die from miscarriage, but she had 10 children that actually like survived birth, that she raised for a while, and she got to see like grow and see them grow for a little bit and then have them die. That's awful. That's awful. The 4 children out of the 17 pregnancies that she had that survived, so the 4 children that survived, she basically became mama bear and became overly protective. So, like I mentioned before, she felt that her mother cursed them, remember, because she decided to marry the clerk and not marry one of the rich suitors that they had picked out for her, so that way she wouldn't continue to fall down the long line of being impoverished. So she felt that she had been cursed because of these events. So the first thing that happened is Leonarda ended up being arrested for fraud. It didn't really say what fraud she was arrested for, because this took place in the 1800s, like in the 1800s, early 1900s. So it's not, when it comes to like older crimes, like Bailey says and what Amber says, it's a lot harder to try and find information, especially like accurate information on crimes that have taken place so long ago. She didn't spend too long in prison because she was arrested and in prison for fraud. She didn't spend too long in prison, so the fraud obviously probably wasn't anything major. And she probably honestly did it because she was trying to make more money in order to financially support her family and protect her children. But things didn't get any better after she was released from prison. Following being released from prison, a horrible earthquake struck the village, and it completely destroyed her home and completely devastated the village. So This woman's luck just keeps getting worse and worse. And this is the reason why she believes her mother cursed her. So after the earthquake destroyed the home in town, the family packed up and moved to Coreggio, which, as you know, soap maker of Coreggio, name of the story. So you already know where this is about to lead. But we're going to talk about the positive stuff first. We never get into the nitty gritty right then and there. We only talk about the positive stuff first. Positive stuff. So when the family moved to Coreggio in 1930, in order to become more financially stable, they decided to open up a little soap shop. But the soap shop actually did really, really well. She quickly earned a sterling reputation for being a kind woman. She became very well respected and liked within the community. Others described her as a nice, kind, gentle woman, a doting mother, and a nice neighbor. She also used her shop to practice fortune telling. And she became really good at that as well. And lots of people in the town would come to her for her fortune telling. And since she was so well liked and respected, they trusted her word. Hang on, gotta go draw my nose. I'll be right back. What do you do? I'm back with a partially filled in nose. So unfortunately, after the couple moved, their relationship began to sour. Like I mentioned, Leonarda became very popular. She had her shop. She had a great job. She was making friends. But Raphael, not so much. Our good sir did not have a job. And this affected him emotionally to the point where he decided to turn to alcohol in order to drown out his sorrows. And our good girl, Leonarda, was not having that at all. So she apparently kicked him out and he was never heard from again. So it's just weird because you don't really hear much about him anymore. But some speculations believe that he could have possibly been Leonarda's first victim because where'd he go? Nobody knows. But it's never been confirmed that he was her first victim. In 1939, World War II broke out and the Italian army was recruiting. And her eldest and favorite son was going to have to join the Italian army. And she just lost it. She was not okay with this at all. So she became determined to protect him at any cost, and I do mean any cost. This led her to believe that the only way to protect him required human sacrifices. So now, here's where the fun begins. So the reason why she got this crazy notion that a human sacrifice would be beneficial to keeping her son safe is because she basically was led to believe that if she killed somebody else, they would take her son's place in the afterlife, and I guess the spirits leave her son alone. So Leonarda's first victim was a woman by the name of Faustina Setti, who was a spinster who came to Leonarda to help her find her a husband. This poor woman, she was just looking for something. She was just looking for a husband. So Leonarda told Faustina that she had found a suitable husband for her in Pola and convinced her to tell no one about it. So she couldn't tell any of her friends, family about the husband and the fact that she was going to go see him until she reached Pola. And she told her that what she needed to do is that she needed to write letters and postcards to relatives and friends beforehand. So that way, after she left, they could just have them, and that way she knows she's safe. So basically, Leonarda was covering her tracks so that way she wouldn't seem sus by having her write postcards and stuff ahead of time. So that way friends, family, and relatives wouldn't be worried and she wouldn't get caught. So on the day that she's supposed to leave, Faustina decided to go swing by Leonarda because, you know, she's her friend. She's the reason why this is happening. So she decided to swing by her shop to thank her and to tell her goodbye. Big mistake. So Leonarda offered her friend a glass of wine that happened to be drugged. And once this poor woman was basically defenseless from the drugged wine, she hit her with an axe and killed her. So after she drugged her and killed her with an axe, she dragged poor Faustina's body into a closet and hacked her into 9 pieces, gathered the blood into a basin, and she went into great gruesome detail about what she did next when she talked to police. And this is the part where if you're eating and you got a sensitive stomach, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and put that snack away, because child, this is about to get rough. So in her statement, she said that I threw the pieces into a pot, added 7 kilos of caustic soda, which I had bought to make soap, and stirred the whole mixture into the pieces dissolved in a thick, dark mush that I poured into several buckets and emptied in a nearby septic tank. As for the blood in the basin, I waited until it had coagulated, dried it in the oven, ground it and mixed it together with flour, sugar, chocolate, milk, and eggs, as well as a bit of margarine, and mixed all the ingredients together. I made lots of crunchy tea cakes and served them to the ladies who came to visit, though Giuseppe and I also ate them. So she turned Faustina into soap that she sells in her shop and turned her into tea cakes and served them to other customers. And also to her son. The oldest son, Giuseppe is the oldest son that's her favorite. And she turned this woman into soap. Lush ain't got nothing on her. Hooey. So, not only did she do that, but some records also showed that Leonarda made Francesca pay her by giving her 30,000 lire as payment for her services. So her life savings. So she made her pay her life savings in order to meet this man who unfortunately she never got to meet. So some people were wondering, like, was the motive of her killing these people like really only for sake of protecting her son, or was this also some financial gain? Because, you know, her life goal was to become more financially stable, and she's kind of protecting her son and earning some commission at the same time. So her next victim was Francesca Soavi. I don't know. So Leonarda convinced Francesca that she had found her a job at a school for girls in Piacenza. And like poor Faustina, she convinced her to write postcards and letters to send to her relatives after she arrived at Piacenza. So she wasn't allowed to say anything to anyone, just like Faustina. And she wasn't allowed to, and she had to wait to send her letters and postcards after she arrived in Piacenza. And just like the first victim, on the day of her departure, she went by to see her, to thank her for all of her help. And just like the other victim, she was given drugged wine, killed with an axe, and drug into the closet and hacked into 9 pieces, placed in soaps, and placed in tea cakes. Oh, this woman's crazy. And just like with the first victim, she was paid a large sum of money. This time she was paid 3,000 lire from the second victim, from Francesca. Now we're on to her third and final victim, Virginia Cacioppo. Sorry for butchering the name, but we're just gonna call her Virginia. So poor Miss Virginia here, she was a former soprano. It was said that she sung at La Scala. So for her, Leonarda claimed to have found a job for her as a secretary for a mysterious impresario in Florence. And just like the other poor victims, she told her not to tell anybody about her new job and told her to write letters and postcards and not to send them until she got to Florence. And unfortunately, poor Virginia ended up the same way as the other victims. She came to tell her arrivederci, all that jazz, and to thank her for her help with getting her said job. And unfortunately, poor Virginia did not make it to Florence because once she got there, just like all the other victims, she ended up being drugged with wine, killed with an axe, chopped into 9 pieces. Oh, God, what this woman said about her is just... Fasten your seatbelts, Merbabes, spook babes, all my babes, because this statement here, again, I hope you're not eating anything, because... So, what she said about Virginia in the police report is, I think hot mess and ridiculous are understatements. So let me just go ahead and tell y'all what this crazy heifer said. She said, she ended up in the pot like the other 2. Her flesh was fat and white. When it had melted, I added a bottle of cologne, and after a long time on the boil, I was able to make some of the most acceptable creamy soaps. I gave bars to neighbors and acquaintances. The cakes, too, were better. That woman was really sweet. What the hell? What? I literally cannot. This is just ridiculous. Who says that? Who? And then from Virginia, she reportedly received 50,000 lire and assorted jewels. So again, I wonder, was this all only just about her trying to protect her son from the war? Or was this also a financial plot as well? Or was her earning stuff financially just the icing on the cake? Just a 2-for-1 deal? I don't know. So she was also earning money from selling the women as soaps and selling them as tea cakes. All right, so y'all know the deal. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the eye and throw on some lashes on both these eyeballs of mine. Well, eyeball and eye socket. And I'll see y'all in a bit to wrap this up. All right, what it do? I'm back and we're all lashed up and we're ready to finish talking about this psychotic lady. So let's get into how this crazy, crazy lady finally got caught. You know how she was telling the victims not to contact their family members and just to send the letters and the postcards whenever they arrived. But of course, that was a lie. Well, the first two victims, their family members, weren't as concerned. But our final victim, Miss Virginia, her family was different. They were built different. So Virginia's sister-in-law became extremely suspicious at Virginia's sudden disappearance. She recalled last seeing her entering Leonarda's shop. So after she saw that, and then she hadn't heard from her in a while, she took her suspicions and her fears to the chief of police, and he immediately opened an investigation. It wasn't the chief of police of Coreggio, it was the chief of police of Reggio Emilia. So the town of Reggio Emilia. So the sister-in-law contacted the chief of police of that town, and she was swiftly arrested. So, of course, at first she defended herself, but then when the police decided to shift the blame to her beloved son Giuseppe, she had a change in tune real quick. So in 1946, she was put on trial for murder in Reggio Emilia, and she was nuts. She was on the stand, like even while she was on the stand, she was like correcting to make sure that they got the details of the crime right. So an article stated, at her trial in Reggio Emilia last week, Leonarda gripped the witness stand rail with oddly delicate hands and calmly set the prosecutor right of certain details. Her deep-set dark eyes gleamed with a wild inner pride as she concluded, I gave the copper ladle, which I used to skim the fat off the kettles, to my country, which was so badly in need of metal during the last days of the war. And remember how I told y'all to keep that little tidbit of information that the gypsy, who was the palm reader, said, keep that little tidbit of information in mind. So she was found guilty and she was granted a 33-year sentence, 30 years in prison and 3 years in a mental asylum. And on October 15th, 1970, ooh, that was the year my mom was born. Anyway, on October 15, 1970, Leonarda Cianciculli died of cerebral apoplexy, which is a type of hemorrhage, while she was still serving her sentence in the asylum at the age of 79. And that, my lovely Merbabes, is the end of the horrific, just disgusting tale of Leonarda Cianciculli, aka the soap maker of Coreggio. Jack, how you feel about all this? He don't know how to feel about this either. Whew. This tale was a lot. This story was a lot. Like, do you imagine being one of those customers that she had and buying tea cakes from her and soaps from her, and then you find out that the tea cakes that she was serving you had human flesh, human remains in it, and the soap that you were using to wash your body was made out of human? So anyway, Merbabes, comment down below what you thought of this story. Just How do you feel about this crazy woman? Like, I don't know how to feel. He don't know how to feel. How do y'all feel about it? Just let me know down below in the comments. And anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Serial Killer Saturdays. I know that this one was a little bit more gruesome and disgusting than the last ones, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Also, make sure you comment down below what serial killer you would like for me to talk about next Saturday for our last episode of Serial Killer Saturdays for this spooky season. Until then, see you next Saturday. Stay safe, stay spooky. Bye.